welcome to the inaugural episode of the Uncool Sports Show. I am Dylan Wilder. I'm joined here by Randy Felker. And we're here to talk about the 4-6 Green Bay Packers.
Woo!
It's been a wild ride through the first 10 games, but here we are. I think there's a lot to love, and there's a lot to not love. But what are your thoughts so far, bud?
Well, Dylan, I'm so glad you asked me that. Honestly, to start, let's go back to maybe like week 1. As we all know, in the Midwest sports game right now, there's a huge rivalry between the Bears and the Packers. I'm personally from Illinois, so I know all about that. And going in, Dylan, what would you say, like week 1, Jordan Love hype train, tore up the Bears, and, I think that kind of continued for a little bit, and then we were quickly kind of brought back down to reality a little bit.
Quickly humbled.
Yeah.
Quickly humbled.
Yeah.
But I mean, Packer fans, Wisconsin fans, we like to get a little delusional and feel like our players are gonna like figure it out.
Yeah.
But there was a lot to like week 1. It always feels good to beat the Bears. That's never gonna change. You could put you or me out there. If we beat the Bears, the whole state is gonna freak out.
I actually wanted to touch too quick on that, Dylan, is like, if you remember, we had my buddy Andy over that week 1, and he's a Bears fan, one of my other great friends, obviously, aside from this guy right here, and, he hyped this up for weeks, man, and, I had other friends just kind of doing that typical trash talking, just like, Jordan Love's going to suck, and Justin Fields is going to be the next iteration of Aaron Rodgers. It seemed like they were thinking with all the weapons they got, and just watching him throughout the game just get humbled was just it was a little funny as a fan, but I also felt bad at the same time. I don't know about you, Dylan, because you just met him for the first time, and I don't know.
I mean,
and I'm talking as like typical Bears fans, and he was just another typical reaction, I want to say, just based off how we looked at him, watching that game. I just feel like that's how most Chicago Bears fans felt after watching that game.
Well, yeah. I mean, at the beginning of any sports season, people think that they're going to run the table and they're going to do this and they're going to do that. The fun thing about this rivalry, if you really want to call it that right now, is that like both teams are bad.
Yeah.
And both teams aren't really going to do much. I mean, I believe that the Packers have much more of a chance to do things this year. I don't see the Bears really turning that ship around. Whereas slowly but surely we have been getting better.
Yeah.
As a team, but mainly Jordan Love has been making better decisions. He's been throwing better balls. It's really just been the defense, that we need to be worried about, and that's not something that you fix overnight. It's something that
Joe Barry defense.
Yeah, when you're playing 5 yards off pretty much every possession.
On 3rd and 1.
Yeah.
3rd and 1, and I can't tell you, Dylan, both of us, and just even, I'm going to give a shout out here to my dad here, Party Marty. A lot of people that know me, and Dylan knows him. That's kind of the nickname that we've all kind of gifted him, just because he likes to party, obviously. But no, he would always, complain to me, Dylan. I mean, just like, boy, like, what are they doing? It's 3rd and 8, or 3rd and 1, sorry, and they're playing 8 yards off, and it's like, what are we doing here? Like, what do they practice at that point?
It's a very soft mentality.
Yeah.
Football in general is kind of getting softer, but I mean, for the last 4 or 5 years now, it's been a steady routine of giving up very easy routine plays, making very mediocre players look like Pro Bowlers.
Yep.
The amount of times like a fifth option goes off for 90 to 110 yards against us is obscene. But in general, I think we're focusing too much on what hasn't gone well, and
yeah,
this team is lucky to have won 4 games.
Yeah.
But at the same time, a couple balls don't go your way, or a couple balls do go your way. You're 5-5, or you're 6-4. And in general, the media is always going to put a lot of pressure on a quarterback.
Yep. Especially after A-Rod.
Yeah, and we talked about that too the first couple of weeks. You were having a tough time when Jordan started to struggle, but you don't go from a Hall of Famer to a rebuild and not have those type of games. But overall, dude, I love Jordan. I think he's figuring it out week by week. His his decision making, his confidence out there, and the way that the other guys rally around him is really palpable.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
People like playing with Jordan Love, and it might take him a little more time
For sure.
but I think there's a lot to like with the kid, and I mean, for about 3 weeks now, he's been steadily improving.
Yep.
And I mean, you can speak more to the Chargers defense than I could, but I don't care if it's the Chargers defense or putting up over 300 yards in the NFL
In today's game is impressive
tough.
now. Yeah.
That's a hard thing to do, and he's figuring it out.
Yeah.
And he's not figuring it out with many weapons,
Nope.
Aaron Jones is missing half the year. A.J. Dillon's having a down year.
All the wideouts are under 25 or 24, I think we were saying, which is the fact that they don't even have one veteran presence in there is a little kind of concerning. But at the same time, I get that whole mentality. They wanted to kind of grow and learn together, and I guess I wanted to ask you, Dylan, we've talked about this, but who are some of your biggest just X factors and standouts at this point that have really made a difference, I think, for Jordan Love, but also just this, offense in general, I don't know if you want to touch on a couple or.
Well, I mean, you and I privately, now that we're doing this, it'll be a little more open.
Yep.
But I think Romeo is just doing great.
Oh, yeah.
I think Romeo is having a great year. I think Jaden Reed is, people aren't going to talk about any of our receivers other than Christian Watson a little bit, just because he made a little bit of a name for himself last year.
Yep.
We have a lot of young guys who have talent, have speed, and seem to really have a drive to want to get better. And, so far those are my in terms of our offense, because I can't speak much for a run game.
Been pretty non-existent, to be
AJ
honest.
has gotten back to being the level we need him to be at.
Yep.
Since Jones has been here and there, but now that Jones is hurt again, AJ is a great second option.
Yeah.
Those two are like sugar and spice together. They play off each other well. They need each other, but without the other guy in the lineup, they don't make sense. They really don't. They take a lot of pressure off of each other, and we definitely need AJ to do better. I think that's an X factor moving forward, is if AJ can get a little confidence. But in terms of our young receiving core, there's a lot to love with Romeo. There's a lot to love with Jaden. And you can speak to this too, but yeah, there's also a lot to love with Christian.
Yep.
We're tougher on Christian, and we maybe expect a little too much out of him too for being a young guy.
I think everyone did. I think the whole Packer fan base last year, after we made that kind of run last year, and he kind of got his confidence back. I mean, look, the quick thing I'll say and this is a hot take with Christian Watson, is that, and we've seen it personally, Dylan, too, a couple times now in the last couple weeks where we were saying how it always seems like, unfortunately, all of Jordan's picks lately have been when he's been looking towards Watson.
I believe 5 out of his 10 have
Which
been,
is crazy, by the way.
Yeah.
But I will say, he's still a threat to the defense in general with his speed. He's kind of taking that MVS role over, and I think really he just needs to really just get that confidence back a little bit still again this year. I feel like he's having that sophomore slump like a lot of people do. But I think he's going to come around. He just needs to have that same mentality that he's always kind of had, which is just compete and just, I think also, come back to the ball a little bit better, things like that. But the other one I wanted to shout out too, like we were just saying, is Dontavian Wicks. And I know you really like him too, Dylan. I mean, third down monster, it seems like this year, and practice squad player, I think, or something like that. I want to say maybe this year.
I believe so. You would know more than I would on that one, to be honest with you. But, he's really making a name for himself in terms of, our fan base, and in terms of what the coaching staff. I mean, every time I read post game interviews, coaches love that kid.
Mm-hmm.
He works hard. That's all you can really ask, especially for a young core.
Oh,
We haven't even talked about Luke Musgrave.
Yep.
We have a lot of very promising options. We just need to find a way to stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
offensively.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you stay healthy and you give Jordan a line and you give Jordan time to come into his own as a player, we'll be fine on that end of the ball. But defensively, there's issues that I don't know. I don't know if it's personnel. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's
probably a mixture.
Philosophy. You know, but yeah, probably a little bit of both. But I don't care what sport you and I are talking about. Like you got to play D, and
can't be soft, like basically.
We're a soft defense.
We are like literally like the softest like marshmallow, honestly. And I want to go back to the Falcons game real quick too, Dylan, to week 2, because that's when I really knew, if you remember, we should have also, by the way, won that game. That was another great game by Jordan. I'll just throw out there. But it was like, I think, what was the coach? He went like four different occasions. I think he was 4 for 4 on us on 4th and short. And every time it seemed like he had no question. He's like, oh, I'm going to go for it. They can't stop us. And
well, after you get 1 4th down,
yeah,
and 2, your team is confident, your offense is confident, and you don't have to think twice.
Yeah.
And again, when the Packers defense is being coached to play multiple yards off of the first down marker, like you're not gonna, we're in the NFL and other coaches can see that from a mile away and okay, well, thank you. We'll take that. Yeah.
Every time.
Why wouldn't they?
Yeah. And honestly, like it just and something that me and my dad used to say back in the day all the time too, like, and I've stood in front of you, Dylan, is like the players, great playmakers. The defense has a lot of potential, but at the end of the day, every core defense in the NFL, and I think everyone that follows the NFL that knows football and follows the game, is that you need to have a couple of guys that can just go in there and hit someone, especially at the linebacker position. And I think Quay Walker is there, but he doesn't really have a lot of consistency and help, to like on the run game. He's kind of just flying around there doing great, but it's like when you don't have guys that seem to want to stop the run, especially like a Preston Smith, it seems like, and people like that, talented guys on the pass game, but if you don't have those guys that have that belief, it's really tough to be a good defense. And so, like, a team like the Niners, though, they do a great job of that, and I've never understood why the last several years we've lost windows of winning a title because of ultimately our defense, I think, just being soft,
Yeah.
But
I would love to be a fly on the wall for what the defensive coaches are talking about and what Barry is trying to preach. It would be very interesting.
Oh yeah.
But until they do something about him, this is going to be the defense they play, and this is going to be the culture they're trying to set defensively, which I can't tell you what that culture is.
No.
But that's what they're trying to set. I mean, when it comes to trying to like build a defensive culture, you need defensive minded players.
Yeah.
And you need players who are difference makers on that end. And, Kenny Clark is a difference maker.
100%.
I don't think anybody in the league is going to argue that, but it's more than having that player. We just played the Chargers, and I'm a Charger fan to a degree. A lot of defensive players on the Chargers are big names.
Yep.
You have Bosa just got hurt and he's done probably, but you have Joey Bosa, you have Khalil Mack, you have Derwin James, you have Asante Samuel Jr.
Yep.
And I'm forgetting other players that they have.
You named more guys than what I could honestly name now.
But I mean, and these are people that are highly respected, highly credited in the league, so to speak.
Yep.
And that's the worst defense in the league. So it's about building a culture. It's about building a like you said, a need and a want to make a difference on that end.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of we have a lot of players who seem content with giving up. We'll give up that play. We'll make that up later in the drive.
Yeah.
But in professional football, the other team is going to take advantage of that mentality 9 out of 10 times.
Oh,
and that's what we're allowing to happen week after week.
Yeah, it's honestly like the most infuriating thing is, Dylan, and I think you could agree, being a Packers fan, just not even this year, but like in past years, is like And you look back with, the great Aaron Rodgers, who I think we can both agree has been one of the most talented players to ever, throw the football. I mean, some of the things we've witnessed, Dylan, as Packers fans, and even non-Packers fans have witnessed, is just unheard of. And, I'm looking at going into this year, like I said, it feels like the team definitely is rallying around Jordan for sure.
Yeah.
But they're still kind of like trying to find their identity, I think, a little bit. And we're starting to get that, I think, a little bit. I think we're making a lot less mistakes. I don't know about you, but I noticed the last couple of games, not nearly as many dumb penalties, it still feels like, at points,
No,
versus,
definitely
like, in that really bad stretch,
Yeah.
But, like, I think it'll be very interesting. This game coming up Thursday, funny enough, I actually went to the first one earlier this year, and I was talking to Dylan about that game, and I want to give a shout out of how, we were so hyped going into that game, coming off of Jordan Love comeback, and everyone's like, Jordan Love is here, and another short week basically, and we got humbled, I'll say, back in week 4, and being there live, Dylan, it was, I told you about it. I was with my cousin and my dad,
and Marty got pretty aggressive, yeah.
Yeah, it was. Let me just tell you, Party Marty. I've never seen that man get so into a game before. And
Marty, I'll break the fourth wall. When he told me that, I was really happy. Sometimes you gotta let it out, man.
He was quite literally at halftime when we were getting just dominated. Just like screaming at the players, like what? Just I won't say it on here, but let's just say it was not good.
I mean, there's something to be said. When you care about something, and you make it a part of your life,
yep.
and you spend money and time getting
yep.
to the game,
yep,
parking, getting
yep.
the food, getting the drinks,
yep,
sitting in the cold, dealing with other drunken idiots. It adds to it all, and it makes it fun. But
for sure,
if the team doesn't show up,
it's embarrassing.
It's like a spiritual pain. It really
It
is.
It was a tough night. And let me just tell you, because I think alluding back, it was almost like deja vu for me, Dylan, like I was telling you, because I went to the game actually last year with my cousin when we were about to literally make the playoffs, and literally kind of almost on the opposite sides of the end zone. And the typical, with our Bears fans, friends, just the typical, like I've told you, Dylan, how I just can get a little into games, when we lose.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit, understatement, but just the typical, right after the game was over, just the just like, just blowing up, and I already know, I know, like, it was typical friends that just, love to see a reaction out of me, and I give it to them in my defense, so, but, yeah, man, it's a big week coming up, and we were just talking before this, Dylan, before we jumped on here, like, if they can steal this one, we could have a shot, to make some noise. And
there's definitely potential of a wild card berth.
Yeah.
But, beyond that potential, we just need to, continue to see improvement.
Yeah.
In the players who are going to be around for the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And those are a lot of the young receivers. That is going to be Jordan Love.
Yep.
I don't know defensively clearly Keyshawn is going to be around for a bit. Lucas Van Ness is somebody they're going to invest quite a bit of
100% Hercules
time into. Yeah. Yep. How old is Quay? Do you know?
I think he's a second. Same year as Watson. So
okay.
Second year, and same with Devontae Wyatt too. The two Georgia Bulldogs.
Rudy is having a pretty solid year. Rudy Ford. I couldn't tell you what the plan is defensively. I can watch a football game and, offensively I can really make sense of things, and, I can understand what a good play call and a bad play call is. Defensively I'm a little lost, and I'm especially lost being a Packer fan because, our defense is atrocious, but I don't know what the plan is. You and I are, very much on the get rid of Joe Barry.
Just
train.
About everyone is at this point, but
what would you want the defensive identity to be? Because it's easy to say, I want people to hit harder and do this and be more aggressive, but scheme wise, what do you think needs to change? Because you can speak to that much more than I can.
Yeah, I think honestly, and this is just the hot take here at this point, with the way our defense is set up, Also, not ignoring the fact that we just gave away our maybe best corner, Rasul, a couple of weeks ago, who, by the way, just had a great game in Buffalo against the Jets this weekend, and I think he might actually even be the best Bills player at this point on the defense, Dylan. But I think we need to kind of have that mentality of, like, take risks. We need to dial up some more exotic blitzes. We need to we're not going to just, dominate people like the 49ers. We're going to have to win in ways where we force turnovers, and I think you got to, as a coordinator, you got to just show them looks that they've maybe not seen from us before. He's got to bring some more corner blitzes. He needs to, just do some more stunts, things like that to just throw the defense off, because we're not going to just, like the Jets or other defenses in the league, just, come in and hit someone in the mouth. We're just not personnel-wise built like that.
Yeah.
So at this point, we got to work with what we have, and I think the only way scheme-wise you can do that is, and someone like we just watched earlier, Steve Spagnuolo, brilliant mind with just throwing things that where even Aaron Rodgers would talk about how much he'd struggle. And that's just my
creative
take.
play calling.
Yeah, 100%. But we're so vanilla, quite literally, that just about everyone knows how to score on us at this point, much less even run on us too. Yeah. So I don't know. It's going to be tough, Dylan. I think we need to get Jair back too. We need to get healthy. We need to get my boy Savage back too. But yeah, that's my thought process. So I don't know. What do you think building off that, I guess?
Well, I was going to build, how do you feel LaFleur has adjusted the last couple of weeks? Because I'm a big believer and a big watcher of body language.
Yep.
And the first couple of weeks, pretty much week 2 on, it seemed like Matt was in the middle of like a mental breakdown.
Oh yeah,
pretty much every
it was in
week.
His eyes.
Yeah, you could just see he wasn't doing well, and he was yelling a lot and losing his temper a lot. And I've noticed that the last couple of weeks he's been a lot calmer. He's been a lot more in control of his emotions, so to speak. And I do believe that, like, when you bring that energy as a coach, especially to a young team, that is very important. And I feel like the guys are kind of like feeding off of him being a little calmer.
Yep.
Being a little more professional. And I'm a big believer in Matt LaFleur. I'm not saying he's unprofessional.
Yeah, me too.
But he definitely, early in the year, he was going through some things, Yeah. He was doing things like Rodgers was doing last year, like shouting up at the sky and freaking out. And, I do think it means something that he's in a better state and that the guys are doing better around that.
Yep.
Because whether you want to say it or not, or, the head coach is the head of the snake, and that energy that he brings has to trickle down. And I do believe that we're seeing a more calm Packer team the last 3 weeks. But what are your thoughts on LaFleur, and what are your thoughts on some of his like offensive decisions so far?
Yeah, early on, the first couple of weeks, especially against Atlanta, Chicago, great play calling early on, especially against the Bears. I remember we were so impressed. Even my buddy Andy was, Matt LaFleur. I think with him, he's got obviously a brilliant mind offensively. You can tell he's got creativity. It feels like sometimes he tries to get a little too cute, where he tries to overthink a little bit too much, like where he tries to, you know what I'm trying to say, like he tries to get to a point where he's like, I'm going to pick the play that the defense would expect me to pick, but then I'm going to pick like an opposite of that, if that makes sense. So he's like trying to double think, if that. And but I honestly, out of all the coaches, like, Matt LaFleur is not the main issue. I think he's working with a lot of young players, like we said too, that have made a lot of mistakes early on and just not executing. I don't think that's really on him. I think what's on him, like you said, just mentioned earlier, is just rallying the team, making sure they're composed, making sure that they're confident and ready to play, And he's nothing like a Dom Capers. I think he could be a really great coach. He's had a great record for us up to this point. Granted, Rodgers has obviously been a big part of that, but he's kept his team in positions to win pretty much every single game this year outside of 2. We were just saying we could very easily, just by a couple of different point swings, be, what would it be? Yeah, 8-2.
Yeah.
So
that's the whole thing about any professional.
It's a week
sport.
to week.
It can change so quickly. And I was looking earlier. We're the only team in the league that has a completely neutral point differential.
Yep.
For 4 and 6, that's very unusual. Usually teams that are 2 games under 500, their point differential is 40, 50, 60 even. They've been scored on way more than they've scored, and that would make sense. Like the Packers are maybe the most average 4-6 team we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
But in that average, there's a lot of potential, like we've talked about, and there's a
so
lot
much
that they can do better and are doing better. I think yesterday, the Chargers are a bad defense. Yeah, the Chargers are also 4-6.
Yeah.
It's still a big game for a young team.
Best game of his year, too, for Jordan Love, quite literally. I mean,
and if you can't build off of that, then, so be it. But he's been building off of that.
Yeah.
He's getting more confident. He's getting smarter.
Yep.
He's getting more poised. And a lot of that has to do with the line doing a better job.
Oh, 180 flipped. And when you say in the last maybe 3 weeks, I know we lost to the Steelers the week prior to this week, but like all 3 of those weeks, Rams, Steelers, just a completely different offensive line.
Yeah.
And even without our, again, maybe not a hot take, but love David Bakhtiari, but man, we got to figure that out, by the way, too, in the future. Because, I mean, we're literally wasting like 20+ million on him, I think, a year right now on that contract.
That's just a situation where you're not going to be able to find too many people who are going to be willing to trade for that contract. And, David has done a lot for this franchise, and I don't think that can be understated.
Yep.
But the timelines aren't really matching up. His career's coming to a close, and
we got so much young players coming in.
Yeah, it's time for some new. I mean, hey man, if he got healthy and contributed, that'd be great. But
took a pay cut maybe a little bit too.
Yeah, but they don't do that.
But they don't do that.
Not. But I mean, if you can find any trade, you do trade that contract.
Yeah,
you have to. You can't think with any type of emotion on that one. I love David Bakhtiari, but he should probably just go be a Jet for a couple of years. If go,
it's what he really wants, I think. Obviously,
everybody knows that. Same with Devontae. He can say everything he wants. They want to be a Jet.
Yeah, and let's touch on that real quick though. Let's kind of pivot, even though this is kind of we're talking about the Packers, but Dylan, I mean, obviously it's no secret, Rodgers. If we want to touch on that, just how disappointed we were week 1. Big game, and we're Packers fans, both me and Dylan, but Aaron Rodgers has a special place in our hearts, obviously. I think just seeing him go down like that was just obviously from a sports fan perspective, just really sad because we were ready to just, and I think looking at like how he's progressing too now, and the reason I'm going here is because I wanted to compare how Rodgers' rookie season was too versus how, Jordan Love is playing this year. I think, with both of them, they're, very similar if you look at their stats. I think Rodgers was like 15 touchdowns, 6 picks at this point in his rookie year back in 2008. Jordan Love, 16 touchdowns, 10 picks. I mean, it's really tough, I guess, to not still think about Aaron Rodgers as a Packers fan because, subconsciously that's all we've known. And we're still comparing him to Jordan Love every game, and I think it's just not fair. But, I think I wanted to give a shout out because he's trying to make what would you call it, like a unheard of comeback when it comes to an Achilles.
I mean, well, whether or not it is an Achilles or not.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
speculation there.
A lot of speculation. But, yeah, I mean, the guy's a psychopath. Everybody knows that. I mean, he's one of the most talented, if not the most talented quarterback that the league has seen.
Yep.
But upstairs, he's a little different. And if he actually does make it back and he is physically and mentally ready to play quarterback for the Jets in a couple of weeks, God bless him. But I think it'd be a lot smarter for the 38-year-old
to give it a year.
Take his time. Yeah. But, I mean, it was disappointing to see him get hurt, but everything does happen for a reason. And if he comes back and it's like a rises from the ashes, Phoenix type situation, then
like he was alluding to up to this point.
Good for him.
Yeah.
But I don't see much chance of that happening. I don't know.
I just part of me, like I said, still, and we were talking about this, like it feels like I don't want to believe this, but was he trying to like kind of, spite the Packers a little bit with that whole little iteration in the trade, where he has play like over 60% of the snaps or something.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk of that too.
And I don't want to believe that, but I guess because where I'm going with this now too is like I think the reason why Rodgers is not here and we're going with Jordan Love is the front office. I don't know if you want to like touch on that a little bit, but like I think that's still one of the biggest things that we need to kind of hash out as a franchise as we sit here, because Brian Gutekunst, made some great moves, it feels like in theory, but I mean he kind of quite literally like pushed multi-time MVP, Super Bowl champion, one of the greatest to ever play, out the door with that kind of ego and pride. And obviously Rodgers has that too, as we know, but yeah,
but you want your players to have that. You don't want people in the front office to behave that way usually.
Yeah.
You want front office people to be little dweeby dorks with a lot of money who just spend and do the analytics and shut up. Like John Horst.
Yeah.
Like Bucks GM John Horst. Just
run
the numbers,
yep.
make the trades.
Yep.
He has no human emotion. He's a weird dude. But that's what you want in a GM. You don't want somebody who is going to get their feelings hurt when he gets called out or when a player wants better.
Yep.
And not even just Rodgers. I mean, Rodgers was probably the most vocal Packer about it, but I guarantee many other players have had issues with the front office, and that's just professional sports. Though you're never gonna have a whole roster of egomaniacs who have been told they're the best thing ever since they were a 10-year-old. That blah blah blah.
Yeah,
there's always gonna be a malcontent. There's always gonna be people mad at Brian, mad at coach, mad at this, mad at Jordan.
Not getting paid enough,
not
whatever.
Getting paid enough, not getting enough touches, not getting enough press. All these people are very unique and very full of themselves to a degree that
you need to play the level of this type of game, because this is the most violent sport besides UFC out there, it feels like, and you need to be ready for battle every week. I mean,
but you also need to be coachable.
For sure.
And professional, and I don't think there's a lot of that.
I think
in the NFL in general at the moment, in terms of young players, it's a lot of like me. What do I want? What do I need?
It's that social media effect, though, Dylan, and it's not even just the players, though, too. I think social media, more than we want to really give it credit or talk about it, it's in all sports. It's influenced players, I think, how they look, how they operate on a team in general. Like you look at it, like that's a huge factor, and especially in these new young generation players, and I think that's why it's so important that you see some of the best players to play this game are usually some of the most humble players, and they just, don't make it about themselves, and Rodgers even was like that too, early on, and, I think it was just kind of hard to see that, over time, but that's why, like I said, I love at this point, because like you just touched on earlier, like the kid seems very humble. The kid seems like he's one of the most mentally composed players I've seen, especially for a first-year quarterback, going behind Aaron Rodgers, Dylan, like that's, I mean, can you imagine the amount of just pressure? Like, I don't know.
I don't know. I believe he's doing a great job.
He is. I'll give him credit, yeah.
I mean, outside of like the Dallas Cowboys, any franchise in New York or California, there's not like a higher pressure job, and this might be one of the most high pressure jobs, just because of
the NFL, I think,
just because of the prestige of the
franchise.
Yeah. But he's doing what he can do, and he's doing it well, and he's doing what he can do with very little help, especially when Aaron Jones either doesn't get targeted or isn't healthy enough to play, which is pretty much every other game.
Yeah, we got to figure out what to do with him, sadly, because, I want him here. I think the kid is, great kid in general. It's going to be really interesting, again, to see how Thursday goes, because another short week. It's quite literally another Thursday night game against Detroit at Detroit. And I wanted to bring this up too, Dylan, because I'm a little nervous about this going into this week. Is that we know how terrible AstroTurf is, but especially the Lions field. I mean, last year didn't we lose Romeo and I'm gonna knock on wood there too, because don't want any of that. But it's gonna be really key that we stay healthy too. If we can get out with a win, but that's a huge factor, I think, going into this week as we're making this push, And,
well, yeah, health is always a factor. But, yeah, no, AstroTurf is –
it's giving me a little nervousness, man, for the players.
I mean, every other week, people are getting hurt, and there's a new narrative on Twitter or on ESPN about AstroTurf. And it's only a matter of time. But, yeah, until then, players have to be careful and definitely – coaching staffs have to be more aware of it, but it's football. You're never when kickoff happens, people are going to get hurt, and they're going to get hurt every week, and they're going to get hurt every quarter of every week.
Yep.
And turf or no turf, special cleats, special helmets, people are going to get hurt.
Yep.
Unless you make it flag football.
True.
And that isn't going to happen, thank God. So, I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of those little things are just little narratives that don't really mean anything. If you're playing football, you're going to get hurt. And every single human being who is involved in the NFL knows that. They all know that at any moment, their life could change radically.
Yeah.
That's why they get paid. That's why they're out there. That's why they sacrifice time away from their family and friends. And unfortunately, that's why a lot of them, don't make it past 50, They take a lot of injuries, and they do what they do. But to blame it on AstroTurf or to blame it on this or blame it on equipment,
there's so many other factors.
It's a violent game.
Yeah.
To pretend like you can change that with a rule or by protecting a quarterback a certain way is foolish. But yeah, until they really do go the flag football route, people are going to keep getting hurt. And, yeah, I mean, health is paramount in football more than any other sport. And, I mean, other than Aaron Jones, we've really been kind of healthy this year. A little dinged up on the defense. Bakhtiari doesn't even count. He's always hurt.
He's been hurt the whole year,
He's habitually hurt. But, God bless you, David. God bless you. But, yeah, I mean, hopefully we can stay healthy. The Lions are a great team. I have a lot of respect for the Lions. I have a lot of
respect the number 2 seed right now, man. Things. Right behind the Eagles, quite literally. I mean, everyone, including ourselves, I think we're thinking, yes, the Lions cost us the playoffs last year. Again, gives me PTSD a little bit thinking about it because I froze my butt off with my awesome cousin. And again, right after they lost that game, it was almost just like clockwork. Everyone just blowing me up, smack talking. The typical people that I want to give a shout out to our boy Joey. Joey does life. He always keeps it entertaining. And I just want to say too, real quick, I think me and Dylan both really appreciate the rivalry with some of our friends with the Chicago. It makes
not
it
involved.
So much.
They never say anything to me, Randy.
That's true.
Because they know it doesn't affect me.
That's true. That's true.
They have never said one word to me about being a Packer fan, and they all know I like the Packers.
That's true.
Because they know you can't emotionally handle it.
That's true. And
I just sit back and I make fun of you with them most of the time. And I'm a Packer fan.
Yep.
But I know how much you react, so
it's something I'm working
on. Whatever, man.
It's something I'm working on, gang.
They have never given me crap for being a Packer fan, Randy. Not one time.
Oof, well,
they've never even talked to me about my Packer fandom because they know that I'll keep it under wraps, dude.
Yep, we're getting there.
I
think you've noticed I've been a lot better this year at this point.
We're working on it.
It's almost like it's almost like hard, Dylan, because it's like you get so invested. I mean, Wisconsin sports in general, they do such a great job of investing you, and then when you just get it ripped away, it's like I can't tell what's worse, being like a Bears fan or like a team you don't have high expectations for typically year in and year out, or just getting to the very end and then just getting it ripped away, I really don't know what's harder at this point. I mean,
I'll take being the better team.
Yeah, I guess, it's a little better. But I wanted to touch on this real quick too, is that, like we were just saying, so they're 4-6. We're playing the Lions this Thursday. We play, at Kansas City the following week, and then we basically have like 5 very winnable games. And, with the Giants, Buccaneers, Panthers, Vikings, and then the Bears again. I mean, realistically, Dylan, do you think if we can steal this one or the other, or like either Kansas City or Detroit, and we win maybe 4 of the 5, maybe even 5, like we could slip in and make some noise maybe,
Well, I mean, yeah, I don't think we're winning 5 out of those last 5.
It's the optimistic, thinking.
No,
but
that's delusional.
But
I know that's what Jair said, but Jair's not even playing well, so he should focus on playing good football before he makes asinine predictions. But yeah, no, they could win a couple of those games.
Yeah,
they can win a lot of them, but that's a 1 week at a time thing, and yeah.
I'm just trying to, I'm trying to say it into existence still, and
I hear you.
it'd be great for the pod. It'd be great for the state of Wisconsin, Green Bay. I mean, man, I just, it'll be very interesting to see how Thursday goes to start, because this is kind of a chance for them to literally kind of go back to week 4 and say, hey, we got embarrassed quite literally on our home turf, and that's an understatement. I mean, so. Are they going to respond, now that they have some confidence? I think Jordan Love is going to be key for that. He's the leader, and I think early you got to give him good looks, let him get, let him cook a little bit, and just take chances, I think they really need to take some risks against this team this Thursday and throw some looks at them that the Lions are not expecting, I mean, what do you think? Like, I guess real quick, Dylan, like, what do you think is going to be the key to win this game this second time around against the Lions for the Packers?
Making plays on defense.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about our offense, really. Jordan will throw a couple of picks, and I'm still not worried about our offense. Like, I'm not.
Yeah.
He moves the ball well. We're making better decisions week by week on that end of the ball. I'm more worried about giving up 6 yards of play.
Yeah.
I think we're giving up like 5.5 yards like a play at the moment. And so I'm gonna be that old man that talks about defense until we get a defensive stop, which never happens.
Yeah.
So until we like make a play on defense, I think we have 1 defensive touchdown all year.
Yep.
We do defense. We need to play some defense. We need to play with some pride. Jared Goff is an above-average quarterback. He has a lot of talent. We should be able to beat Jared Goff, and we should be able to make a play on him. We need somebody on defense to step up and play with a little bit of pride.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't mean, you have to, like, make a big hit, but good Lord, just play with a little bit of pride.
Get your pants dirty, as Party Marty would say.
Just do something, man.
Yeah.
But Detroit is well coached. They play with they genuinely have a culture built there. They know what they have to do. They know what they want to do, and they usually do a good job of doing it this year.
Dan Campbell, man.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Dan Campbell. I really do respect the way he goes about it, and you can tell that his players really play for him.
They respect the heck out of him, man.
So yeah, I'm not gonna say that it's gonna be a tough game. It's gonna be a tough game, and everybody's gonna have to show up, man.
Everyone. Yeah.
But yeah, as long as Jordan can continue to keep his poise offensively, I'm not too worried. I mean, we'll see if Aaron Jones, what his health looks like for the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
We'll see if Christian Watson can get through a drive without, breaking something.
Yeah, quite literally. How many times, Dylan, did we, when we just got him back just a couple weeks ago, it was like the first time he got targeted and he got hurt the minute he caught the ball, and we're like,
he's got the paper bones and the glass skin, or the glass bones and the
SpongeBob
paper
reference,
skin, dude.
yeah.
He's just, I love the kid, but he's got to work on his body a little bit.
Yeah.
Coming from somebody who is sitting in a living room who needs to work on his body, but Christian Watson needs to just get himself right.
We both need to,
He needs to get himself right, and he's a professional athlete. He was supposed to be the number 1 receiver on this team.
Yeah.
Coming into the year, and he really hasn't done anything. Anything more than what's expected.
Yeah.
Especially given his health. But we need him to be a leader, and I don't know if you've seen these tweets of his brother, saying that Jordan Love isn't good enough and that they need to target Christian more. I think he could be one of those people where he's surrounded by a lot of toxic energy, and everybody is telling him, "Oh, you're better than this team. You're better than this. You're better than that. You don't need to work hard. You don't need to do this." It seems his body language is bad almost every week.
It's tough to look at.
He stops playing before the ball is even fully gets to him. He's already pouting, already calling for flags when there's still a play to be made.
It's like, focus on catching the ball, bro, and you'll be fine. I mean,
he's worried about getting he's worried about the PI when he should be worried about making the play. It's very interesting. But yeah, he's got a lot of raw talent, and if he can really build some chemistry with Jordan instead of pointing fingers, they can be a good duo.
Yeah.
Because Jordan, he seems to take accountability as a leader.
Yep.
We need Christian to be that. And if he won't be,
someone
Romeo
else is
will
going to take his place. Yeah, Jaden Reed
Romeo
can too.
Or Jaden, or
Dontavian.
Somebody'll do it, and they'll be the vocal leader, and he'll just be pouting. And he needs to be better than that. He's an X factor for the back half of the year too.
Yep.
He might be the biggest X factor if he can
come on like he did last year, where when we started going on that stretch, it was partially because Christian Watson was just a touchdown magnet. What did he get, like 8 touchdowns in like the span of like 4 games, something crazy like that? Which is, I mean, heck, he could do that. This is starting going into this week, man. It just with the mentality flip, he's got the health, I think, back again. He's got the speed, as we know, and the talent. It's just put it all together, build off of your teammates. And I wanted to say real quick too, Dylan, as we're talking about this, is that the other key, I think, X factor though too is our special teams. Keyshawn Nixon, which you were talking about, again, huge boost for us last year towards the end. We need a big game from him maybe this week even too, like where he rips off a touchdown or something, and because field position's going to be key in this game and moving forward in general for the Packers, because we're not going to just go down every drive and go 80 yards like Patrick Mahomes, Like, we need to help Jordan out.
Oh, yeah. Every bit counts.
And, yeah, so we'll see. I don't know. It's going to be a really fun game and fun season still. I think we still have a chance. And, man, dude, the NFL is, in general, like we were just saying, like, there's not really – every team, it seems like, is still kind of not fully standing out yet, I mean, the Eagles, they just won.
I mean, the Eagles are 9-1. I think that's pretty.
Yeah, but
pretty
they're beatable, I think, though, still, because there's been games where they could have lost this year too, and I just what I'm trying to get
but
at,
they didn't.
Yeah,
I think it's easy to focus on what could have been, but what is that they're 9-1, and that they dominate almost every game.
Yeah,
they almost lost, almost just like we almost won, but we didn't.
That's true.
And at the end of the day, they're 9-1. We're 4-6.
Yeah,
I think they're the standout team. I think the Niners really kind of fumbled their bag so far this year.
Yep.
Or fumbled the start they had, but I don't know. Eagles are kind of my pick so far, and I think my little conspiracy theory head. It seems like the league really wants some Eagles. They love themselves.
Yeah.
A couple of Kelsey brothers in the Super Bowl.
The whole Kelsey
they would
Swift
love
thing
they would
too
love
is
another
just...
little Kelsey Bowl. It would make them a lot of money. They'll have T Swift do the anthem. They'd love that.
And you want to just mention too what you said earlier, Dylan, about the whole theory about
they'll get Taylor to replace Carey.
Yeah.
We've all had Carrie Underwood singing that song for years. It'll be Taylor.
Hey, that idea right there, NFL.
Yeah, pay me for that one.
Yeah, honestly, Dylan, we need to.
I'll be a consultant for Roger Goodell.
Yeah, that you're welcome, Roger. By the way, my boy
Roger,
Dylan.
You are welcome.
That's honestly genius. By the way, I mean it seems obvious, but honestly, at the same time, I don't think a lot of people were thinking about that. I think
he's a little too busy worried about how to ruin football for the rest of eternity.
Yeah,
he's a little too worried about turning it into flag football and turning the Pro Bowl into a retirement game or something.
That's, by the way, Pro Bowl is just unwatchable. I think a lot of people can agree on that.
Roger Goodell, he doesn't love football, but he loves the money that comes from being in
What
charge
is
of
Taylor
football.
Swift?
Taylor
is
Swift has money.
Might be bigger than the
Just
NFL.
give me 10%, Raj.
Yeah.
Give me 10%.
Shout out to all the Swifties, I guess. Yeah, you guys are helping with that. So, I mean, hey, you're helping build the game that we all love watching. So, I mean,
yeah. Are you talking about Roger or Taylor?
I'm talking about the Swifties with Taylor. Yeah, just building up the NFL. It seems like Taylor Swift is bigger than the NFL at this point. Seems
Taylor
like.
Swift is bigger than the NFL, but that'll only last as long as that relationship lasts. So.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about regarding the Packers, buddy?
Man, I think just in general, everyone, I think going in early in the year, it was kind of quickly, like I said, the hype train. We kind of, like I said, got humbled a little bit. But honestly, there's still a lot to be excited for, Dylan. And I'm just excited to see how Jordan progresses. I think the end of this year, how he finishes is going to be very pivotal for how we move forward as a franchise, whether he's the guy. I still think he can be the guy, like you said. Again, great mentality on him. I think he needs to work on his deep ball still, like we've touched on. But his reading is getting better of the defense. And yeah, I don't know. I just want to throw this out there. Like, are we gonna run the table, Dylan? I don't know. It's something that let's see it. Let's run it and just see what happens, because at this point, we'd love to see it, and I think.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. It's gonna get us to watch. So I guess that's important, right?
Well, Randy, you would watch even if they were 0-10 right now,
and I'd still find a way to get mad about it.
You're
too.
a Packers masochist.
Yeah. Versus you being the Bucks guy, which, by the way, we'll touch on that here very soon too. We'll be dropping actually episode later this week for the Bucks as well, talking about them. But yeah, I guess Dylan, I don't know what else. Is there anything else you want to say? That's about all I can say right now. It's just wait and see, especially Thursday. But okay, well, I just wanted to say too again, everyone that's watching, I want to give a huge shout out to my boy Dylan. He honestly kind of helped create this vision of what we're kind of trying to build here, and I just wanted to mention, like, we really plan on building this platform more than just sports, bigger than ourselves, and we want to keep this interactive with you all. We want to have people on in the future, whether it's in person or over the phone, things like that. And again, Dylan, I think, it's going to be a fun time, man. And just what we just did here, this was fun, dude. I mean,
yeah, man.
It felt natural too, man. Did it not, like, a little bit? I mean, we've talked plenty of times, Dylan, but it's almost like the podcasting was kind of meant for us, and I'm really excited to talk about whether it's sports or other things with you and our friends, as we move forward. And
absolutely, bud.
And we just want to say we appreciate you all. Seriously, it's going to be a fun ride. Keep up with us. We're going to stay on that hustle, as you would say. And yeah, Uncool podcast. Here we go, baby.
Episode 1.